Hi guys, um, Rebecca Criego here with Just Love. Um, I'm crooked. I just want to say thank you for joining me. Whether you're joining me live or whether you're watching this after the fact. If you, excuse me, if you do come live today, as always, comments are welcome. Please ask your questions and I'll answer them as I can. I think I have a weak connection, so I'm going to try and fix that. Learned, and I have a lot on my mind, so I think the more things that are on my mind, the more I do, because I think a lot of you know that I'm getting married soon, and so there's a huge to-do list. And on a side note, the way that I deal with to-do lists is just to focus on it as a way that I am kind of directing my journey. So not to focus on, I have to get all this done, but this is just a way I have of kind of directing my path as I go. So anyway, how to deal with friends when they let you down. The first thing that I did, or probably not the first thing, but what I came to is that when somebody lets you down, you have to immediately consider that the way they see the situation is through a different perspective than how you see it. And as is everything that we see in life is colored by our perspective. It's colored by things that have happened in our past. And it's just, you're never going to understand completely how somebody views the situation. Also, something to consider is just let it sit in your heart. Sometimes we know when someone has wronged us and it's a selfish action and they shouldn't have done it, and they know that they're wrong. In those situations, it's kind of, you have to have radical acceptance. But when it's kind of more of a complicated thing, you have to stop and consider, was this person doing what was best for them? Was this person doing as love would lead them to do? Perhaps, the problem is on my end. Maybe I'm being selfish. Maybe just my perspective is skewed by things. So, or perhaps, they shouldn't have done something, but their perspective is skewed so that they feel they did the right thing, if that makes sense. So that's the first thing, is to understand perspective, because perspective really does change everything. It changes how we act, and it is everything. And perspective is a tricky issue. You can't just change your perspective at will. I mean, it's more complicated than that. Especially the deeper the issue is and the closer the friend is that has let you down. The second thing to do, you can't know what their perspective is. You can't know if they were following love or if they were following their ego or what their motivation was. But what you can do is know that you have no control over what they do. You have no control over what their thoughts or their perspective is. You can try and explain yourself and say, hey, I feel hurt, which you should do. But at the same time, even while you're saying that, you need to understand that you cannot change someone's perspective on something. They're going to see it how they see it. And even after you've explained, a lot of times it's not going to change anything, and that's okay, because they are on their journey learning their lessons, and you are on your journey learning your lessons. So anyway, if anybody has questions on that, please ask. Moving on to what you can do. First of all, don't feel like, or I guess feel is the wrong word for this statement, but let your feelings be what they are without judging them. Just let them be. Whether you think they're right or wrong, I shouldn't feel this way. Maybe they did the right thing, but it still hurts. Don't feel like, oh, I have to change the way I feel, because you don't, and you can't. It's more complicated than that. So let those feelings be. Sit with those feelings for a minute and just kind of notice them. Notice the tension that they're causing in your body, the way your stomach feels. Just acknowledge all that for a little bit, and then there's a few things that you can do to kind of help move away from those feelings when they're negative. The one is not judging it. I have some notes today. Smart. So I'm checking my notes. The other thing that you need to do is really look at what the facts of the situation are. Are you using a wise mind to look at the situation? Are you being all logic and saying, this is what the facts are, so this is how the person should have reacted, or this is how I should react because this is the logical course of action? Or are you being in your emotional mind and say, wow, this really hurts and I'm really offended, therefore I can no longer be friends with this person, and I can't believe what they did, and they're just not my friend anymore because it's really hurtful. So what you have to do is you kind of have to bring the facts and the emotional side of it together, and use your wise mind. That's a technique from DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, a whole nother story. But it's been a great technique for me to use, and I try and use it. I probably use it daily. I think all of us use it to some degree without even knowing what we're doing. But so you have to just, sometimes it's good to even list the facts of the situation. This is exactly what happened. And then understand where your emotional mind is skewing your perspective. So that's the second thing that you can do. And then you can do what's best for you. Don't be led by guilt. A lot of times in our friendships, we don't want to hurt people. We don't want them to see us in a poor light. A lot of different reasons that are not led by love. And we want to remain in love. We want to do what is best for our own journey. And that's not selfish, because when we do what is best for us, then we make the world a better place. And love is never going to intentionally hurt someone else. It's never going to hurt anybody else. It's going to add to their lesson and their journey in life. So never be afraid of doing what is right. If you're feeling, oh, I can't do that because it'll really hurt that person's feelings, you might be enabling bad behavior by doing that. There's a lot of negative consequences to following guilt versus following love. So do what is right for you. And you can really write this out and decide, or sometimes it's just something that you know. You're like, well, I feel badly that this person is struggling in this situation, but I know what I need to do for me, for my family, and so I'm going to move forward. A lot of that came into the situation that I was dealing with, I had been dealing with for several weeks, and I did act in my best interest and the best interest of my family. But if you look at the facts and the physical reality, this person is going to struggle due to my actions. And so I can see, what I did was perfectly understandable, but I can see where their emotional mind would get in there and mess with facts. And I'm sorry, I don't want to air out specific details to the world, but we'll just put it out there. But anyway, so don't judge your feelings, check the facts, and then and do what's best for you. Make your decision at that point, and then you need to forgive them and move on. If they did do something wrong, or you feel like they did something wrong, you have to forgive them. And the way to do that, I think forgiveness is more about letting go than anything else. And you just let go of your judgment toward them. Just let go of it. Let go of the need to be right in the situation. And it doesn't matter how heinous the act was against you. It can be something totally horrible. Let God judge that person. Let a judge judge that person, whoever. But you don't have to judge that person. And that's something I think we feel like in the media and different outlets tell us that we have the right to be angry. And right or wrong, anger doesn't help us. It doesn't help our journey. It doesn't do anything to their journey. It's just negative. And so give yourself the permission to let go of that judgment. Don't worry about it. Easier said than done. There's a lot of techniques that you can do when trying not to focus on those things. You're going to have the thoughts come back even after you've made that decision. Wow, this person really hurt me. This was horrible. But you just have to keep gently reminding yourself, I've forgiven this person. I'm letting go of the judgment. I'm not going to worry about it. And sometimes, especially if it's a deep hurt, you have to remind yourself, even several times a minute at first. But the more you do this, the more that the feelings will let go and the more that your wise mind will take over. So that's something. Also, something else that I think helps in these situations, especially when it's not something so serious and so definitely wrong, but when it's a friendship issue where somebody's kind of hurt your feelings, just acknowledge the times that you have let your friends down, and especially those times when you've done it, but it was the best thing for you to do. You were protecting yourself. You were setting boundaries. I have another issue going on that was where I was on the flip side, and I'm pretty sure this person feels quite let down, by me. But it was something that I needed to do, and I'm doing it, it's hard because it's an emotional thing. So it's hard to let love lead me through all of it, but I'm doing my best to let love lead me in this situation. And I realize that it's causing more of a struggle with that person. But, an example I always use is that when a butterfly comes out of its cocoon, its wings are all tightly curled up. And that butterfly has to struggle to get those wings to open all the way so that they can fly. And if somebody comes along and tries to help that person, I'm correlating it to a person, but when they help the butterfly unfold their wings, the butterfly will die. So you never touch a butterfly in this state. So the same is true with us when we're struggling through our problems. There are things that we can do to support people, but we never want to directly try and uncurl their wings for them. That's something that they have to do. And there are just certain things that you cannot help somebody with. They have to do it themselves. And so a lot of times they won't understand that. I've been in that situation too before, where I couldn't understand why no one was rescuing me. I couldn't understand why they weren't pulling me out of the situation I was in. But I learned valuable lessons in those circumstances. I am who I am because of those. And were they unpleasant? Yes, of course. But life is full of pain, and it's also full of joy. And so the more that we struggle, the more that we're able to learn how to find the joy. And that's kind of a hard truth to accept. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I don't want to pigtail too much. But I think when you're hurt with someone, if you can consider ways that you've either let that person down or ways that you haven't let them down, but you can see where they would perceive it that way, it helps to soften the blow, because you know that you've been on the flip side. You've let people down, either deliberately because you were following your own ego or selfishness or whatever, or you were following love and it just didn't line up with what they thought you should do. So acknowledging that kind of helps you to connect with that person and empathize with them and know that it's not so simple. That most of the time, especially in a friend situation, they're not doing anything because they want to hurt you. They're doing it because of the path they're on and the perspective, and they don't want to hurt you. Even in little things in life, that is true. So, a side note to that is if this does bring up situations for you where you realize you have let someone down and it is something that you did that wasn't done in love, go ahead and see, really examine it. See if you're going back and making it right with that person, You don't want to reopen wounds, especially if that person's not in your life anymore. So you kind of have to weigh, put this before love and say, what should I do to make this situation right? And go forward and do that. And then if it's something that you feel you're being led to make right, but it's actually, you're just doing it because you feel guilty now over this situation, you're like, oh man, I never thought of it that way. And, I hurt that person, I have to fix it. Don't be led by the need to fix it. Instead, be led by the need to show them love and to live a life of love. So, I hope this has helped someone deal with hurt, because we all get hurt by people. And, if it's a total stranger, it's just kind of like, that was rude. But if it's a friend, especially a close friend, it's really hurtful. I'm sure that, I'll have to deal with this for a while, and I'll have to work through it for a while. But it will pass and I will heal. And as long as I hold this situation before love, then I know that I'll be better for it. So that was my message for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a beautiful Sunday. It's lovely here in Colorado. Lots of colors and with the leaves changing, and it's just a beautiful time of year. I really enjoy the fall. So, and tomorrow's Halloween, so you guys be safe and be happy and celebrate in whatever way that you celebrate Halloween. Maybe you don't celebrate Halloween, so just have an awesome Monday if that's the case. Hey, I like the ghost. Thank you, Veronica.
Pikachu!
Sweet little hearts. I always love hearts. So anyway, I love you guys. Message me anytime. Leave me comments if we're not friends yet. Friend request me. Yeah. Anyway, I'm here. I have a Mindful Joy Search blog that you can kind of find me on. I also have a Mindful Joy Search email. It's just mindfuljoysearch@gmail.com, spelled correctly and all that. I love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye. How do I stop it? I always forget how to stop it, guys. Sorry. Finish. It says finish right here. My blonde hair, I have it for a reason. Okay. Bye, guys.